All right. Yeah. So this is now it says recording and
I see
transcribing.
that. I like that.
Nice.
So
we're testing out new features here. So pardon our dorkiness for seeing how this comes out transcribed. But here we go.
yeah, we're gonna transcribe the show, and maybe start posting. That's good. Let's start this show off with me fucking yawning. That's amazing. That's what the listeners crave.
You know what the best part about transcription is? I'm sure if I actually have to edit anything, that'd be an absolute disaster nightmare. So
Oh yeah, but I mean, at least you'll be able to hopefully find it quicker, I guess.
that's true.
I mean, not that we'll really probably have to edit anything because apparently Richie's tied up again tonight.
Yeah.
So you really shouldn't, unless I start like yawning uncontrollably. Which now that I said it, I'm probably gonna.
Yeah, exactly. It's just part of it. But we were gonna kind of just dive into maybe some video game stuff. The holidays are approaching, so we're gonna maybe talking about different games or just different tech or whatever that we're kind of excited about, and stuff that's been recently announced, or maybe stuff that was announced before, but maybe a little bit of a deeper dive if we've talked about it before. We just kind of scraped the surface. So there's a Square Enix, though, and you had mentioned this, I believe, or at least had in our notes in the Nintendo Direct, about a new farm sim called Harvestella. So I don't know, it's pretty interesting. Do you do much on the farm sim type games at all, or?
No, I mean, look, every time a new Animal Crossing comes out, I get addicted for like a month or two. See, there's that fucking yawning. I get addicted for like a month or two, and then I fall off and stop playing it. And then like I'll get the urge to go back, but I feel bad because it's like I abandoned the people. But they can sometimes get me to dig in, but I just don't feel like I wanted to dig in on what is that one you just mentioned when we were talking in the beginning?
Stardew Valley.
Yeah, I wanted to dig in on that, but I don't know. It feels weird.
Yeah, I started playing it last. I would say it was like around last Christmas. I just happened to throw it on. I've got this one of the Switches I have is a Switch Lite, so it's just easy, just portable stuff. So I was like, I kind of got into it. The only thing I like about it was, playing it handheld like that, the screen was so small, and sometimes I have a hard time reading like the real small text, like if it comes with age, I guess. But I don't know that game was meant for like that size screen. I'm sure it was because it was like a mobile whatever, but I like it like big on TV. So, but it was fun, But same thing, like I played it for a little while, and then I just kind of lost interest. Much like Animal Crossing, I played the tar out of the newest one, and then got the subsequent feature release updates through Nintendo Switch Online, and just it was cool for a little bit, and then it's like, oh, there's 10 other things I can play. So but this is interesting. This is Square Enix's kind of spin on it. It's a kind of a dungeon crawler, so you're basically, from what I gather, it's more of a fighting combat dialogue, like a typical Square Enix game, than it is about like actual farming. But the cool thing is, like, the graphics look more akin to it's very colorful. I would put it kind of in the Breath of the Wild type realm, I guess. If some of these screens and videos I've seen, it looks just very kind of really colorful, picturesque, kind of a pretty type game. And it's cool, like the kind of the farming stuff also kind of has that element too. So in Breath of the Wild, where you can make your dishes and stuff.
Yeah.
This game has that too, which is kind of cool, except it looks like it's a little more in depth. I don't know. It's but I think that's part of actually this game, whereas that's just like an element in that game. This is more like focused on that, so it's going to probably be more advanced. But it's I don't know, it's interesting. I for the most part, really like the Square Enix games. This one, I don't know. I don't know if this is one that I'd actually dive into. But I think it's cool that they're kind of taking a crack at it, honestly.
I mean, they're good at most everything they do, with the exception of Battleland Wonderworld. But what's funny is I just looked at the run sheet for when we did the Nintendo Direct, and all I had written next to Harvestella was Square Enix, more farm stuff.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like almost every single, like for every game that came out, or every 2 games that came out, there was one farm sim or one game that seemed like it had some kind of farming sim elements to it that was in the Nintendo Direct.
Right. The other thing too, though, like those farm sims, like you actually have, games called like Farming Simulator, which are quite popular, and then you get into like the Lawnmower Simulator and those sorts of crazy things. But the I don't know, the ones that are like the Stardew Valley or what this looks like, I don't know, more of a kind of an adventure type feel to it.
Yeah.
Especially being a Square Enix game, kind of has a little Final Fantasy vibe to it. I don't know. It's interesting though. But so let's get away from that one. Did you see or hear the leak supposedly through Pokemon Go?
Through Pokemon Go?
That's what it said. It said Pokemon Go leak reveals a something about a Scarlet Violet Pokemon. A new Scarlet Violet Pokemon just leaked through Pokemon Go.
I haven't seen this. I've been doing car shit all day, and then I was sitting out in the garage with Scrappy for a while. So enlighten me.
Okay, so I'm on. I'm just gonna send this your way, but Polygon, which is pretty credible tech website, or at least for games and stuff. They kind of have this on here that is, I guess, it happened today.
Oh, I see it.
That Pokemon previously showed up briefly in a Scarlet Violet trailer, but it says a Pokemon Go data miner leaked a Pokemon Scarlet and Violet creature ahead of the game's release on November 18th. And I guess it's a coin Pokemon.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and I don't know. It's interesting. The little readout here. It's pretty cool that the way some of these people do these things. But what's your initial like? What is this?
It's creepy. I hate it, and I also love it. Like,
it kind of looks like that doll in the WWE Alexa Bliss doll thing.
Yeah, what's funny is my initial thought is that this is like Robert the Doll.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
if you're familiar with that whole thing or not.
I'm about to be.
All right, so Robert the Doll is he's a doll that lives in Key West, I believe, one of the keys, and he's haunted. He's haunted as fuck, and he supposedly, when his owner had him, used to do all kinds of nefarious shit, and he now curses people, drains camera batteries, does all kinds of like weird shit. When people, like, you have to ask him if you can take his picture. You have to ask for permission, and if you don't, either your camera's battery will die or the picture will come out fucked up or whatever. Like, there's all kinds of shit. Like, for whatever reason, I'm blanking on a lot of it, but I just watched a YouTube video on him not too long ago, and he's pretty famous. But he's a creepy ass little fucking doll.
Yeah, I'm looking at the sucker now. Yeah, so Robert is a dog complained to be possessed by spirits that is on display at the East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida, that was once owned by Key West painter and author Robert Eugene Otto. Hence the name Robert, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's weird. Okay, so it's funny. This actually kind of goes back into the cryptid conversation. But okay, so this thing you can see, but it's haunted, and it's not real.
Right.
I don't know. It's not really a cryptid, but boy, it kind of falls in the same vein.
Yeah, I mean, it does creepy ass shit. And like the kids in the neighborhood used to say that they would see it, like it would be in the window, and then it would go disappear, and then it would pop back up in the window, and shit like that. Like they would watch it, and it would like do shit, and there was nobody up there fucking with it. And then like people in the house would say they would hear footsteps running across the floor when the kid was at school or whatever, or wasn't there, and they would go up, and the doll would have moved like across the room, shit like that, like all kinds of crazy ass stories. But
Yeah,
he's a creepy little fuck.
it's wild. So I'm on the. It's funny. You got kind of go down these rabbit holes, and I'm gonna send you this one. There's a Wikipedia page all dedicated to haunted dolls, and so the second one listed underneath Robert is Annabelle, and this is kind of interesting. Annabelle's the Raggedy Ann doll alleged by Ed and Lorraine Warren to be haunted and displayed in the Warren's Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut. The doll served as inspiration for the films The Conjuring and Annabelle. So there you go, little tidbit.
Did you? No, you've seen the picture of Robert, right?
Yeah, I pulled up some Google images. Just it looks just like that Pokemon coin thing. You're right.
He's so fucking creepy. Like he looks like a monkey, but
it looks like someone using for target practice.
That too. Like he's all kinds of fucked up. But yeah, so that's what that reminds me of. I'm looking forward to catching it and making it fight other creatures.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know I find it interesting that people gonna get into these different games, and this one just happened to be supposedly data mined straight out of Pokemon Go, or at least I don't know something, I guess, however it was. I don't know. It's kind of interesting that these people go in and they find all this stuff based off of different things, code, whatever. They just really dig in.
What it more than likely is, because they do this every time one of the new games comes out. So Pokemon Go, they've been releasing the different generations, and they're kind of getting too close to being up to date.
Mm-hmm.
So what they do is they'll release, like, whenever a new game comes out, they'll release like one or two Pokemon from it into Pokemon Go to like drum up interest in it. There was one after so they do these things called community days where there's more shiny spawns than usual. Like you can probably catch like 3 or 4 at least. Now, then again, I've had days when I've caught 2.
Right.
But I've also had days when I've caught like 15. So what they do is they have these specific days where such and such Pokemon will be appearing in the wild en masse, and then it increases your chances of finding a shiny. So after one of them, all of a sudden these little fucking weird things started showing up all over the screen, and nobody knew what the fuck they were. We kept on clicking on them. We thought maybe there was some kind of error or maybe some kind of weird, but because when you would click on it, it would give you a weird little error thing, and then if you tried to catch it, it would run away. And it turned out that was a marketing thing for a new Pokemon in the new game. So it was like kind of like a crossover thing that they do to promote, and then so ever since then they've been using these little things like that to try and promote crossover.
It's more like an Easter egg type thing.
Yeah,
or just throwing little stuff in, or almost like they're getting ready to put it in there. We're just gonna screw with you a little bit, like a beta test,
right?
Kind of get you prepped for it. I don't know. It's interesting. But that came out today, and the other thing I saw on here, I kind of wanted to revisit too. We had a conversation one of the last times we recorded in regards to Call of Duty and Modern Warfare and all that. Have you thought any more thoughts on that as far as how they're kind of approaching that after we've kind of spent some time stewing on that?
Still not a fan. I mean, they were behind the 8 ball for me anyway, because it's fucking Call of Duty. That's it. I mean, like the story, from what I've seen from the commercials, the storyline does look good in this. If I'm picking up that there actually is a storyline, it looks pretty good, but still ain't gonna play it because I don't like the way they went about business.
And it's crazy too. You had made a comment about their naming convention being so bad. And do you know the first Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 when the first time it was released? What year that was?
2 was like 20. It's like 2010, 2011,
Close, yeah, 2009.
2009.
So yeah, so it goes back quite some time. I don't know. It's funny. I agree. That's the one part I got to thinking about too. Is the naming conventions that they're so lost on me, especially whenever there's not a year associated with it. So how many of them could there possibly be?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Well, and then like they didn't do themselves any favors with the acronyms for it too, because COD, and then when it's the Black Ops ones, so COD Blops, like
right,
I mean, it's just funny to me. It's funnier in my head than it is when I say it out loud. But like, there's no, I don't know, man. I'm just not a fan of the series anymore. I lost interest after the original Modern Warfare 2 back in 2009 during the No Russian, which Richie talked about before, and I believe we talked about before, where you're in an airport just gunning down innocent civilians.
right.
And like like he said, you don't have to do anything during it, or you can skip it and not have any kind of consequences or anything. But the fact of the matter, they felt the need to put that in and give you the option to just mow down civilians. It's just not cool.
Yeah,
Just the like shock for shock factor.
right. And look, we could have a conversation kind of based on that alone. So in a game like that, which to me is better or for worse, I guess, is supposed to have some terms of realism to it. You know what I mean? Like it's supposed to be the one thing that I kind of sticks in my head is I agree on that sense. Like, why was that put in there? Definitely not cool. But in the same side, like, look at all the stuff that gets thrown into a GTA type game, or those sorts of things. However, though, this is where my difference is. The Call of Duty games to me are framed to be more realistic, whereas the GTA games are obviously they sometimes look realistic, but they're so over the top, like action movie stuff,
Right.
that it's I mean, you're stealing airplanes and skydiving off skyscrapers, and it's crazy stuff. Like,
Right.
And
that's my thing is, look, Call of Duty does purport itself to be a realistic military shooter. Well, okay, so your realistic military shooter, and like you said, Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto does have more egregious things in it, but Grand Theft Auto also doesn't make it a point of saying, "Hey, you can skip this one if you want."
Right.
They knew how fucked up what this
was.
mission was because they gave you the option to skip it.
Right.
So to me, it's just it was just over the top. It wasn't necessary, or give you the option to stop. Like, I know for storyline's sake, it had to occur, but so then give you the option to branch the storyline a little bit and turn on those people.
Right. And here's my thing too. And you know how I am, how my feelings are with linear games. I haven't played Call of Duty in forever. When I have, it was multiplayer type stuff. So I don't know anything about how the storyline works, how the game works. I really don't. I have no frame of reference. My understanding is it's very linear still when you try to actually play it non-multiplayer, correct?
Yeah.
So obviously that's not going to be a selling point for me. Whereas GTA is an open canvas. Like, you can do whatever you want. Yeah, you can do missions and you can do side quests and you can do whatever. That's the whole point. Danielle even, she had turned me on several months ago to the people that go online and they role play stuff, and they have all their YouTube videos and they do all this stuff with it, and they have this own their world with it. It's pretty neat stuff.
It was so real, I thought it was real.
But it's so over the top though, still, because of the game. You know what I mean? You're not sitting there pretending that that this is like one of those deals where it's actually hey, this either happened or this could happen or whatever. because like it's so outlandish. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, it's no problem. I'm gonna steal my 15th police car of the day, and not get shot. I mean,
Right.
it just doesn't happen now. Call of Duty is a warfare game, and you and I have talked about this before on here months and months and months ago about America's Army and how that was used as a training tool for what, 2 decades?
Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine that there's got to be a lot of similarities there between Call of Duty and something like that.
Oh yeah,
There's got to be.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's got such a grip on the gaming industry. It's one of those evergreen titles now where every year, you get a new Madden, you get a new NHL, you get a new The Show, you get a new FIFA, new NBA Live, and I don't know, NBA Live.
You get PGA, you get
NBA
everything.
2K, and you get a new Call of Duty. Just like you were getting a new Assassin's Creed every year too, for a while. And I think I think they decided to stop that so they could kind of expand the cycle, the development cycle, which is good. But maybe that's what needs to happen. For Call of Duty, you don't need an annual fucking release. You really don't. It's, that'd be like Halo every year. Oh, hey, every year we get a new Halo.
Right. But again, I think you're dead on though. I think the big kicker is it is because it's like a Madden. It is whatever. It's a game that's, it's got a big following.
Right.
People are going to buy it, year in, year out, just like they do with Madden, just like they do with the other games that you mentioned. So they've got a set customer base. And, again, I don't know how much work goes into really remaking one of those type of games. The same with like on Madden though. I mean, I realize that there's updates and there's stuff and roster updates and different things that you can do over time. But the main difference is that sports changes every year because of that reason. And it's like, okay, yeah, well, we can throw a couple new features in because we have had a year to develop it or whatever. Whereas a game like that, yeah, I could see feature changes, obviously, but it's not like sports really, because I mean, everything has roughly been the same for the last, I don't know, 20 years or so.
And that's what kills me is it's just at this point, I don't know. I feel like they just get to the point where they're just trying to figure out how to outdo themselves for the last year. And it's okay, how do we get more absurd at this point, but still stay realistic? So then you start pushing the envelope as far as what, and I'm never really one to clutch my pearls and oh no, but what's at what point do you get past the point of decency with it?
Right. Yeah.
Like it's been past that point now since the No Russian in 2009. So are we really keeping trying to surpass that every time? I couldn't tell you because I haven't really played much.
Yeah. I think we need to, kind of preface our last 10 minutes of conversation there. Look, you and I are obviously not fans of that game series whatsoever.
No, I used to be.
It's just one of those things where it's just not something we play. And I don't think I intend this to ever be a dogging on any kind of style of game. Look, if that's your cup of tea, that's your cup of tea. It's just not my cup of tea. However, there has to be something where, like you said, go back to 2009 and you come across something that, you know what, you can skip this because, we know it's messed up. Because of that layer of realism, and there, I think there's something there. Again, I'm not going to play the blocking police and start, cutting everything out and doing all this junk. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, let's just make sure that this just gets black bagged and, never seen again. I don't want to start doing stuff like that because then you start going down some pretty crazy holes that way.
Right.
But I think it's a good conversation thing because really, look, you and I both know too, the main audience for that game happens to be kids.
Sweepers.
Yeah, it's crazy. Because I always make that joke. Because one of the reasons why I hated playing it was I knew I was going to get blown away by an 8-year-old.
Exactly.
You know.
Well, I mean, Peyton, when he was probably in like third or fourth grade, kids in his grade were playing it, and he was asking me if he could play Call of Duty and stuff. I'm like, no, dude, you can't play Call of Duty. Like, you're not old enough yet. You can't handle that yet. You need to just, obviously he was skilled enough to play it. He can play. He's really good at video. He's better than me at video games now. Sad as that is to say, but I do think there's something to be said for the kind of media and the kind of exposure to things that kids get at young ages. And I think if, obviously it's a question of nature and nurture and all that stuff. And we're not here to get into all of that, but I feel like there's a point where you still need to protect kids from that. And then when they're older and they can handle it, you can let them kind of experience that kind of media. You don't want to have it happen too young, because we don't know. And I'm not blaming, don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those where I'm blaming violent video games and TV shows and whatever for everything that's wrong in the world, because
of course not. Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know that it helps. I'm not going to say that we should block it, though. But me personally,
right. That's up to the parent, guardian, whatever.
Right.
Look, that's a conversation.
Although I'm telling you right now, if I'm one thing that did piss me off, and I will say these people are assholes. I remember watching the first Expendables, and these people had like their 5-year-old kids in there, and that pissed me the fuck off.
Right. Yeah. It's sometimes it's you just kind of shake your head. You know what I mean? It cracks me up. But yeah, no, and it's a valid argument too, to kind of like really look at it and say, hey, you have this realistic combat game where you're obviously shooting and killing people. That's your target audience is really supposed to be 17 above or whatever. Right. And obviously kids well under that are getting online playing it. And, look, I'm not going to sit here and, start casting stones here, but that's obviously not, I don't know.
Right. I mean, and here's where I'm kind of a hypocrite, because like, if there's a shooting game where like my thing with Peyton was, all right, as long as it's not a realistic shooting game, and as long as you're not shooting people.
Right.
So like there was a Transformers game that he really liked on the 360, War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron, those two games. And I'm like, you know what? It's robots shooting each other with laser beams, and they transform into cars and planes and shit. I don't have a problem with him playing that. There was, what was the other one? Halo. Just talked about. It's a futuristic space marine shooting robots and aliens. Again, with futuristic weapons and whatnot. Cool. You want to play that? Cool. But where it comes to the realism stuff and shooting actual people, that's where I draw a line. And again, that's me personally. And I'm not saying that everybody should do that, but I try to at least look at it like, what is he seeing versus what is he experiencing?
Right. Yeah, and that's a great point. There's a huge difference between, the Transformers game. Although I was going to joke that sounds pretty realistic, but but there's a huge difference between that and a Call of Duty.
Right.
Huge. There's and so obviously there should be no problem that if they're understanding to realize like, hey, this is just what it is, pick it up and play it. No big deal. Because I'm the same way. There's a lot of the little campy little shooters that obviously there's no blood, or there's just it's all cartoon based or whatever it is. I have no problem with that, because it's a goof. It's a goof. It's a fun little play.
Right.
I mean, heck, even goes back to looking at something as simple as Mario Kart. What do? You shoot each other with shells.
Right.
And how many? I mean, seriously, it's. I don't know. It's interesting the where that's all gone though. Kind of flipping all that back now is our original conversation about that game had to do with the fact that you were essentially getting not the full game on disc. You're paying for what amounted to a code, which you were going to have to download all this stuff on. And we turned it into a conversation of, well, kind of violent for youth. I think at the end of the day, though, whether your decision is to play it because that's your cup of tea, that's your game, whatever, you're going to also have to make that same decision going back to original argument about, okay, if I want to play this game, I guess I'm going to have to suck down all this internet and realize that I actually don't physically own it too now. So,
which I still can't wrap my head around that. I can't. And again, hypocrite, because what did I do last February? I bought the Destiny 2 expansion pack that came out, and I don't own that. I own vanilla Destiny 2 on a disc, and everything that's come after that has all been online only stuff and digital only. So there are certain places where I'll bend that, but I guess my thing is I knew going into it that Destiny is an always online shooter, and you have to be connected to the internet. So I knew that going in and was like, okay, I know I'm buying the disc and it's going to be on the disc, but they actually shipped the game, the original game on the disc, and then you put it in, it installs off of that, and then you download the updates. Not where, this has no data on it, but just a product key, and then that's it, and then you have to download everything else. Right.
And I think that kind of it's interesting that you brought that up, though. So it's like you have the original game, then all the DLC is obviously not, it's not physical; it's all online or whatever. The games that have mods, for example, whether it's a community mod or whether it's a mod that has been developed by the company itself, those mods rarely ever get anything physical.
Right.
That's always online. If they get physical, it's something that is like, and I don't know that there's benefit. I'd have to look it up, but like it's one of those iterations of Skyrim, for example, that they started adding things to over time. There might be a physical release now that has all these things that were added to it, whether it was a mod or some kind of DLC or whatever. But typically speaking, that's the way it goes. Is you're right. It's, hey, you have your vanilla game, your DLCs, your mods, all that stuff, but you walk into it knowing that. But it kind of, I guess part of it too is like, if you do play Madden, what's something that comes out every week? Roster updates,
yeah.
And that's nothing that's on, the original disc,
I think it's if I remember correctly, the first game that really end up becoming a physical game that started as a mod would have been Counter-Strike, right?
I believe so.
Counter-Strike was originally the multiplayer for Half-Life, right?
Yeah. You know what? Let's do a little digging on that, because I believe you're correct on that. I don't know the origin all the way around. Let's see. Let's find Wikipedia. I was actually a big Half-Life fan back in the day. Played the tar out of that. All right, so Counter-Strike actually was, in 2000, Valve acquired the rights to the fan-made mod Counter-Strike, and so that's what it was. It's interesting that's a whole other episode within and of itself, because that also spun off Portal.
Yeah. And didn't it spin off Team Fortress 2 as well? Or is that just a completely different game that Valve developed and threw in the orange box with Half-Life and Portal and that?
Okay. It just says characters from Half-Life appeared in other games. Half-Life 2, Team Fortress 2, and Portal. So it looks like they've just shown up. I don't know. I don't see anything that shows that it was derived from it, though.
Okay.
Black Mesa was another one. That was a third-party remake of the original Half-Life, and it was originally published as a mod, but then Valve approved it for commercial release, and then it was released fully. So this is interesting. It was a third. Okay, so here, I don't know if you're ever familiar with this one, but Black Mesa is a third-party remake of the original Half-Life, developed and published by Crowbar Collective and made in the Source engine. Originally published as a free mod in September of 2012. It was approved by Valve for commercial release. It was fully released on March 6, 2020.
No shit.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's nuts.
Yeah, so he had a mod that was free for 8 years, and then they finally commercially released it.
Jesus.
I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah, we could do a whole one on that. I remember playing the original quite a bit. PC. I was a big fan of that.
So speaking of mods, but kind of changing up the topic a little bit, just in a minor way. I happened to get my hands on another piece of the Virginity Gauntlet.
Oh, what'd you get now?
PS2.
Nice.
And
Nice.
so I've got a couple mods that I'm planning on doing to it. So there's a Noctua fan mod where you can buy an upgraded fan kit with a bracket and everything, and it's a no solder mod. So you just drop it in, you disconnect the pin, the old fan, plug the new fan in, and it makes it run like super quiet. And there's an SSD mod that I'm going to do to it, and install an SSD with a bracket, and then I just need to get a copy of FreeMc Boot, which you can buy on a memory card, and then all I've got to do is I'm gonna need you or Richie to teach Grandpa over here how to use torrents again, because I completely fucking forgot, and I need to find a library that I can download PS2.
Yeah, you'll have to hit him up on that. I'll tell you what, I stepped away from that. It's kind of funny going back to content that you don't really have even digital files of yourself. You know, I already have my own library that I like, and then I just stream everything else. So it's pretty sad how I've fallen by the wayside on that. Now, did you come up with, was it the original PS2 or is it a Slim?
Oh no, it's the original PS2.
Awesome.
You can't put the hard drive in the.
I didn't think so. I didn't think that's what I thought. But I wasn't 100% certain on that. I actually have mine. I still have mine from whenever I bought it back. What came out? What, 2000?
Yeah.
Yeah, that I still have.
2000 or 2001. We have fucking Google, and we're like guessing.
Yeah. No. North America was October 2000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but I've gained 2 more gems for the Virginity Gauntlet. I've gained a GameCube.
Ooh, nice.
Which there's a new mod for that allows you to use any Bluetooth device as a controller.
Oh, that's cool.
It's $100. You buy this board, and it replaces the original controller input.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got a pass through, so you can use the original controller still, but you can also use Bluetooth devices on it. And
that's pretty cool.
And this is the one that I don't know what your reaction is going to be to this one, but I think it's pretty cool. A Japanese Sega Saturn.
Really?
With the Satiator.
Nice.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
So I'm looking. That's another reason, because the GameCube I'm going to mod as well eventually to allow me to use the Swiss loader.
Mm-hmm.
Which the Swiss loader, I don't know if you're familiar with it at all.
You know what? I probably read about it in passing, but not to talk about.
You can use that with an optical drive emulator and run backups of your original GameCube games, which we all have a huge GameCube game collection that we use to back up the discs ourselves and use legal copies of in our systems.
Of course, you know,
yes, that's what we all do. But yeah, so I'm going to so then I'll be able to play. And the other thing it does is it can replace. So you know how the GameCube player or Game Boy player for the GameCube, the little adapter that plugs into the bottom and lets you play Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games.
Mm-hmm.
So the hardest thing to find for that, you can find those things anywhere. The hardest thing to find for it is the disc. Like the Game Boy player, you can get for like $30. The disc costs like $150.
Okay.
So it works as a pass through for that, so that you can run the Game Boy player without having the disc. So eventually, an optical drive emulator will be going into the GameCube and the The Bluetooth 4 will be going into the GameCube. I'm just gonna start tinkering, man.
Yeah, why not? Have fun with it. That's what you have to kind of. We'll have to kind of maybe do a little update, here and there on the. I'm really curious with PS2.
Yeah.
Mainly because I still have one. I don't know that I would, break it out. I actually had one time. I saw my 3, which still works.
Nice.
As far as I know, I had the 4, and then I have my Pro 4. I still have the Pro 4. I donated my 4 to esports, and then I've got the 5. I don't think I have my original PS. If I do, it's buried somewhere. I kind of vaguely recall selling that, probably to get software for the PS2, because that would have been around the time that I kept doing that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to think of the systems I still have, but I just don't. My problem is I have systems I don't have any software,
Right.
or I don't even know where they're at, So I still have 64. I think I have 2 of them actually. One of them I believe you gave me. You might have given me both. I've got a Dreamcast, but I have nothing for it, and that's what it's like. I think I have the that old NES emulator disc still.
Nice.
I think that's it though. I don't think I have anything else for it. And then I'm trying to think. Probably have a DS somewhere. And then I know we've got the 2DS. We got a couple of those. Just really nothing though, man. It's crazy. It's like I think about all the stuff we have. Like I've got software out the nose for current stuff, but
That's the one that I don't have currently is a Dreamcast, because I had bought the one on Facebook Marketplace, and it turned out to not work. So I gave it to Hollywood for his wedding. On loan,
I remember
that, like 800 Bobby Bonilla cards. But I've got, so if we run down the list now, so we'll start with Sega. So I've got a Master System, a Genesis Mark 1. So like the original one that has the big circle and the volume thing. And then I've got the Saturn. Then I've got the NES, the SNES, the N64, the GameCube, the Wii U, and the Switch. So I'm back to having every single Nintendo home console release. Then we've got the TurboGrafx 16. We've got the 360. We've got the Series X. And what am I missing? I know I'm missing something in there. Oh, the PS2. Is that it? I think that's it.
Here's an honest question. It's more of a curious question, actually. So, 2-parter. Do you have, whether you have it now, or you've had it, or it's something that you want? Do you have a favorite system? We'll stick with home. Now we won't talk about handhelds.
Yeah.
We'll just stick with console. And 2, which one do you think over the years you got the most mileage out of?
So favorite's difficult because I go through phases.
Right, and I think that's why I would. If you don't have an answer for that, I think the second one you probably do. Would be my guess.
So the Switch, I'm going to say the Switch for now, because I play. I go back and play Fire Emblem 800,000 times. I've got between the 3DS and which I don't have a 3DS anymore. But the 3DS and the Switch, I must have played close to 500 to 600 hours of Fire Emblem, maybe more, because there were quite a few Fire Emblem games for the 3DS. But I know I've got 300 hours logged in the Switch version, the 3 houses that came out. Most mileage,
like over the years, like hey, I played the most out of this because of this or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, so I guess that would have to be the 360.
That's it's so I was about to say that for you, because I kind of figured that, mainly because I knew how you use that for moving
2K.
like classic games over and all that stuff.
Right. Well, and that's what I play 2K on.
Right.
So that's, I mean, that game alone. I wish that there was a time tracker on that. Well, maybe I don't wish there was a time tracker. But because I've played in probably at least 1 to 2 years of my life just playing fucking 2K. But I guess, I mean, aside from that, I got to go NES. I have to. Tecmo Bowl and Baseball Stars.
Yeah.
It's
tough. It's tough.
tough.
Yeah, that'd be me personally. Is probably the NES, mainly for Tecmo Super Bowl and a lot of the other titles, Baseball Stars, Simulator, you name it. But I could, like you said, though, you could like kind of look at it in chunks of time, because there'd be a time I could tell you, well, the Sega Genesis, because I played a lot of Mutant League Football, or I could tell you the PS2 because of GTA 3 or Twist Metal Black, or I can't tell you how much time I spent playing that. But for now, I have to say the Switch as well, and only because there's just so many different things I've played on it. Play with the kids on it a lot. I did get a lot out of the PS4, and probably more so than the 5, honestly, just based off of different software and stuff over the years, different games, whatever. But yeah, I'm just as much a fan of the Switch as you are. I think it's such a top-notch thing, and the fact that you have that ability to dock it portable. I don't play it portable as much, hardly, very little, only when I'm traveling. Mainly because I'm getting old, I like the big screen. I mean, whether it's spending the hours and hours and hours playing Tetris 99, or now we're, really starting to, really practice Mario Kart, not just play it, practicing. It's weird, because we're doing these tournaments and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's fun, you know what I mean? It's just, it's different. Now, as far as like anything that you say, like, hey, there's a game that you're still kind of on the hunt for. Do you have one? Like,
oh, dude, there's so many. Cubivore will forever be the one that I wish I just never got rid of.
the one that got away.
Dude, it's so fun. And it's so expensive now. And what's funny, well, not funny, but what's I guess kind of funny is I had sold it to 8-Bit Hall of Fame like right before the pandemic, and he was like, man, it's a shame this is it had like a scratch on it. So he's like, it's a shame has a scratch on it, and you don't have the case because it'd be worth like $200 or something like that. And now to get a copy of it, even scratched up and without the box, you're paying like $500.
Right.
And which, shout out to 8-Bit Hall of Fame, by the way. You and I went down there when you were down here, completely wiped out.
Yeah, I saw the pictures on Facebook. They're not look good.
He lost all of his stock. You could see some amiibos still hanging on the ceiling, but fucking who gives a shit?
Right.
He lost. So hopefully he's able to. I mean, what sucks is a lot of the stuff he had in that store, you can't replace.
Oh yeah,
he had so much stuff that was so limited and so so incredibly hard to find that no matter how much money the insurance company gives him, his business is decimated.
Oh yeah, no, because the time it would take and the money it would take to try to track down even a fraction of that would be, not productive.
Right, and I feel terrible for the guy. That was his. He moved down here with his wife. I forget how long ago, and then he was following his dream and opened the store, and then the hurricane comes through and wipes it out. And so, hopefully somehow he's able to be made whole, but just sucks sucks for him, and hopefully, and it sucks for the community, honestly, and for video game preservation as a whole. But best wishes to Jason, who's the owner, and hopefully that gets, something there's some silver lining out of it for him, hopefully.
Right. Yeah. There's gotta be something.
But yeah, Cubivore, Mutant League Hockey for the Genesis, which, I mean, I'll be every one of the consoles that has a cartridge slot, I'm going to have a thing for an EverDrive. Ooh, here you go. Back in the day, there was a version of Shining Force. Are you familiar with Shining Force?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I played a ton of those games.
Oh, that's right. We talked about Shining
Mhm.
Force.
Yeah, because I played a ton on Genesis and a ton on the Game Gear as well.
So they made a remake of the first one, and it came out on Game Boy Advance. And I had it. Like, I jumped on that as soon as it came out. I jumped on it. And over the years, at some point, I ended up getting rid of it. And now if I remember correctly, it's pretty hard to find. It's pretty expensive. I haven't really hunted it down,
Mm-hmm.
but it made some changes to the original game. I guess some quality of life changes and stuff. Here we go. Resurrection of the Dark Dragon, and it's $65 if you buy an actual official version of it. You can get the little. Oh no, nope, that might be a fake one because it's $258.64 on Amazon.
Mm.
So that one that I saw that was $60 some might be fake. It's crazy though. It was really good. Wish I'd have held on to that, but it is what it is. Okay, no, never mind. So it's looking like $62.99 to $80 is the normal range. So that Amazon price is a little bit inflated.
Yeah, it's funny with Amazon. Yeah, and it was funny. Before we wrap up here, I like I said, I have very limited software, but I really wanted a copy of GoldenEye, and like I said, I don't really have any idea as to what stuff was. And then I realized, like, I think I ended up picking up a copy on eBay for like $6 or $7, like because it was so popular, it was so mass produced. But that was, I think, it was one of the things that maybe love the Switch Online announcement for that. And I'm just kind of curious to see the differences.
Which I actually finally cracked and went to that top tier.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I finally joined the elite of the Nintendo Online, which it's a great price for what it is. You know what I mean?
Oh, it really is. Yeah.
I had no qualms about doing it once they made it worth it to me by putting Mario Party and all that stuff on there. But
yeah, because now Mario Party and 2 are available.
Right.
That was just this week, actually. So
yeah, so so now I'm on board with that 100%. I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, that, and you get the. I think there's some value in it too with the like the Animal Crossing Happy Home Paradise DLC, the Mario Kart, the Booster Course Pass, and if you're a fan of Splatoon 2, they have that expansion through that as well. So there's some added value too. It's not just the NES, SNES, 64, Genesis games. You do have those DLCs as well. So
Yeah. See, I mean, and that's the only thing is that I've never, I've never been a big fan of Splatoon. I stopped playing Animal Crossing. So to me, it was really, there was a point where it was the Genesis games, which I have every Genesis game now, and the N64 games, which again, have them. But the added, I don't want to, I'm going to sound lazy, but fuck it. I don't give a shit. The added benefit of being able to play it just on my Switch, just be like, oh yeah, hit the button and boom, there it is. And number one, and number two, having it is better quality visuals playing it on the, on the Switch versus the 64 through an RCA cable going to an HDMI adapter, So, it has its benefits. And then being able to play online, like I'm looking forward to recreating some of those late nights playing Mario Party and beating the shit out of Toad and Donkey Kong.
Yeah, no, exactly, dude. It's I mean, it's cool because you actually have some titles being added back to it now. Because for a while there, unless they added things here and there for it, but now you really have, hey, we've announced this, and now we're going to be throwing out more of really what people want. Now if we ever get to a point where we can start doing real license stuff, like WCW or WWF games, I don't think we'd ever see the day. But
No.
I also said about Goldeneye too. So
I also don't think we would ever touch grass again if we could do that.
yeah, that's a good point.
So
anyhow, you had anything else to close us out with? It's been fun. I know we kind of went a little deeper, a little more not as funny, obviously.
Yeah. I gotta bitch about a wrestling thing real quick, and then we'll get into it. Why the fuck is Jeff Jarrett in fucking AEW now?
All right, I'm gonna give you my wrestling take on this. So
Look, I know why he's there. But come on, somebody better, please.
So actually, I'll do two things with Jeff Jarrett. So first of all, 2022 is the year of Jeff Jarrett. Because think of all the stuff he's done. He wrestled in Ric Flair's last match. He showed up on WWE, pay-per-view as a guest referee. He's now in AEW running the live events and stuff, or whatever he's doing. And he did something else too. What else did he do this year? It's for another company.
What's it, Impact? It was
Impact. It was Impact. Yeah, yep. Yeah, so he's done all that just this year. That's just cool. I think it's awesome.
Oh no, it's cool, but he's such a shitbag.
Yeah, we've talked about Jeff and his pappy Jerry on this before. My thing is that if I was fantasy booking this, Vince is still in control, and now he's starting to send out. Kind of like WCW, where he sent Vince Russo over there, and completely torpedoed the company.
Hey, could be. It's gonna turn. The whole thing was a big giant swerve, and he's injected a lethal dose of poison into AEW.
I mean, look, I've never been a fan of Jeff Jarrett. I realize he's got a good mind for the business, or at least it seems like he does. But my thing is that he doesn't have a good track record of keeping things, other than maybe the original several years at TNA. And that's only because there was no other alternative. You had great people come through it. AJ Styles, Samoa Joe. You had some really talented wrestlers come through it. But after a while there, he started losing his mind and then doing like the Global Force Wrestling crap. And boy, that really was a,
shit show.
Yeah, just not good.
Yeah.
And I think he just made some poor business decisions. I don't know that he's in a position now where he needs to be in charge of anything major. I think he would be good as far as, maybe providing some help. Maybe just kind of being like, hey, let's bring you in here and there. Let's pick your brain a little bit. I don't know that he has, and that's just my opinion. I don't know that he has any business running anything for a company at this point.
Right.
Much the same way I feel the same way about Bischoff or Paul Heyman even. I think Paul Heyman does still some quite behind the scenes stuff still, but I don't think this day and age that he can run a company.
No.
He couldn't run 20 years ago.
Right. I love Paul, but you're right.
I mean,
we both love Paul, but
yeah, just not a great businessman, and that's the same for Bischoff. I think he's the same way. It's just like, the guy was extremely lucky and talented for several years, and then bad decisions,
right?
But anyhow, yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know.
I think we've hit the trifecta here. We talked about video games, we talked about wrestling, and Wait, what was the third part?
Uh,
And I fucked up and can't count. There we go. There's the trifecta.
that's what it was. Yeah, video games, wrestling, and I don't know. What
Cryptids.
website you want?
Cryptids.
Cryptids. We did do cryptids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go. That was the third thing. I knew there was a third thing.
Yeah.
Because we're kind of cryptids, because it was Robert the Doll.
That's right.
We're counting him as a pseudo cryptid.
We're going to have to use that as we'll tease that out for a future episode. We'll do a Robert the Doll and all the haunted, creepy, like you just said, the quasi cryptids.
We should have done. Maybe we should have done that during Halloween during creepy season.
Nah,
that's fuck it. Christmas is creepy.
I say we do it and we'll release it Christmas Day.
We should. It'll be Christmas because look, man, what's more metal than having a rotting corpse in your living room for a month?
That's right.
Essentially, what you do if you have a live Christmas tree.
Hey, speaking of that, so and I'll finish up with this. Do you ever play the mobile games Little Alchemy?
No.
So you just combine stuff basically, and so like you're making like elements, and you're making like, here's a house and here's a city and here's a whatever. You just do these little things. It's kind of fun, but it's very lighthearted, or at least so I thought, until I created a corpse today. It's like, oh cool, I found a windmill, I found an electric car, and then you put like the bullet and the human together and it creates a corpse. Yeah.
I love that so much. There's not I think, I don't know, man. I think I might need to play that now, because it makes me think about, did you ever play the game Little Inferno?
No.
So I really want to play that game because everything I look at, it looks like the fire is talking to you and it just wants you to burn things.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
Yeah. So it's out on the Switch. It's been out on the Switch for years now.
That rates really well too.
Yeah. So I think I might have to try that at some point.
Cool. Yeah. Now this is the one I've been playing is Little Alchemy too. It's just a quick little mobile game, but it's a puzzle game.
I'll have to try that.
Yeah, it was interesting because I was like, yeah, it was cool. It's like, yeah, I found energy and I found heat and I found water and I found all this cool stuff. Then it's like, corpse. Okay, where's this game going?
Blow up doll.
And that might be. I mean, I still have like another 600 items to discover, so who knows?
Oh, shit. Well, I know one thing you won't discover.
And by the way, did you see that?
I did see that.
Speaking of that, yeah.
And you won't find anything more pure than the love between Richie and Harley Quinn Smith.